the Lax Factor Podcast. What is up, college lacrosse fans? You're watching episode number 205 of the Lax Factor Podcast. You might be listening. I'm not sure what you're doing. I'm your host, Ted Hoost, and today we're going to talk about a boatload of lacrosse games. We have some tournament action out of the Big Ten. We have chaos in the Ivy League, and we'll talk about Harvard at Yale. That was a great game. Lehigh and Loyola. Another great game. Both went into overtime. We'll talk about Army at Boston U, Cornell at Princeton, Georgetown at Villanova, and a bunch of other games. Before I get into it, as always, be sure to like and subscribe if you are watching on YouTube. If you are listening via audio, be sure to share with your friends, interact however you can, chirp us on social media, all that good stuff. As always, you can go to laxfactor.com, support us that way. We put everything up there, and you can get yourself t-shirts and swag and other type crap. But I digress. Let us jump into the very first game I want to talk about today, Harvard at Yale. The Ivy has been insane all season long. They've handled their non-conference business, which has jacked their RPI through the roof, and the in-conference play has been absolute chaos. And in this game here, it was chaos, but it was like a game of runs early on. The first run of the game, a 3-goal sprint by Yale to jump out to a quick 3-zip lead all over the course of the first 5 minutes of this game. This run was capped by Thomas Bragg, his 19th of the season, a man-up goal dished by Johnny Keeb. I think it's Keeb. I don't even know. I don't normally show the replay highlights, but in this case, it's worth it because Bragg absolutely smokes this past Kyle Mullen, and it is 3-zip Yale. The next run, Harvard's turn, a 4-goal run that gave Harvard the lead off a Joe Dowling goal feed. It kind of missed the crease, one hop to Dowling, who booked it to the middle of the field where he saw space, and now it's 4-3. Harvard. Yale matched Harvard's 4 goals, scoring the first 4 of the second quarter. Matt Brandow started it off just 57 seconds in, and it was finished off by Chris Lyons, his 25th of the season, assisted by Leo Johnson. A nice feed from goal line extended up to Lyons on the high crease, finished it low to low, and now it is 7-4 Yale. Yale built the lead up to 9-5. Harvard battles back. They get things back to tied up at 11s. Yale answered. Harvard scores again, 12-all tie, and then Owen Gaffney stuck a man-up goal just 22 seconds into the fourth quarter, fed by Andrew Perry, giving Harvard the lead again. And through much of the fourth, Harvard would kind of hold that 1-goal lead. Yale would kind of tie it up. Harvard would kind of answer, and we would go back and forth a little bit. Fast forward, 2 minutes, 5 seconds left in regulation. Harvard is up by a goal, and freshman Leo Johnson dodges hard from X up the left side of the cage, books it, fires off a shot on the run, kind of gets his hips turned, and puts it in stick side just over the head of Bernard's stick, and we're tied at 16s. A big-time ballsy move for sure here by Johnson, the freshman, just to be able to do that. And they talked about it in the telecast. Johnson had tried that dodge on the previous possession, missed the cage, didn't work out for him, but he goes right back to the same dodge, and it was from distance. He didn't turn all that much, kind of shot with his hip still kind of facing upfield, and he buried it. It was nice. In overtime, Yale, they are man up, and once again, Thomas Bragg putting absolute smoke past a Harvard goalie, almost an exact replica of his first goal of the game. Bragg is just a man up killer. I think Bragg leads the country in man up goals, if I'm correct. And I mean, this dude just, his cannon is incredible, and he doesn't look, he's lanky, so he does kind of look like the type of guy that would have a cannon on him. But man, that shot from out top is absolutely deadly. You can't give this dude time and room. And that's the game. Yale wins the game. That was Bragg's 3rd goal of the game. For Yale, Matt Brandow was great. 4 goals, 2 helpers. Brad Sharp, a goal and 4 assists. Chris Lyons, 5 goals. Leo Johnson was 2 and 2. Bragg had 3 goals. They got help all over their roster, both the young and the old. We've got super seniors playing with freshmen, and they all were getting the job done. Ramsey was huge at the dot for Yale, winning 21 of 33, and you just about have to give him the game ball. You win, 65% of the draws in a game, in a 1-goal game that went to overtime where every possession counts, and you win 65% of those possessions. That's huge. I know it's not sexy to give the game ball to the faceoff guy that won 65% of those possessions at the dot, but in truth, without all those possessions, Harvard wins this game. You never know. You can't say that absolutely, but I presume he gives up 5 of those wins and just wins 58% of those faceoffs. Harvard probably wins this game. Next up for Yale is Cornell in the Ivy League semis. Cornell beat Yale in Ithaca on March 19th, 13-12. The Bulldogs will want revenge. And right now, the way Yale's playing, I mean, they look capable of getting revenge. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. So we come back here and we have another overtime game. We've got Lehigh at Loyola. Lehigh, they're playing for the number 2 seed in the Patriot League tournament on Friday evening. This was one of the Friday night games. Loyola was playing for their season, already sitting at below 500. Loyola needed this win badly to keep their season alive. Now, granted, they're 5-2 coming into this game in the Patriot, but they couldn't afford another loss, just in terms of momentum, Patriot League seeding, all of that crap. So they really needed to get a win here in this game. I'm not sure in terms of the ramifications what would have happened if they had lost, if that would have bumped them from the Patriot League tournament, and that would have dashed all hopes. But either way, you don't want to lose. And the Patriot League has been similar to the Ivies in the sense that they beat the hell out of each other. Now, this game, also a game of runs, and it was actually off the chain overall. I mean, this game was nuts. And the first quarter was dull for the first 6 minutes, but Aiden Olmstead finally got the game rolling with a goal just under 6 minutes on a dish from Davis Lindsay. Olmstead with a quick strike just above GLE up that left side. You kind of see Loyola do that a lot. Good at kind of sneaking the men up around crease. Kevin Lindley, he'd scored 3 goals over Loyola's 5-goal run to open that game, but none were as awesome as his first goal of the game, number 187, hashtag 187 of his career. He showed some nice hands as Evan James threaded the needle, finding number 7 on the backside, 2-zip Loyola. Lindley made it 5-zip Greyhound, scoring his 3rd of the game. Garbage goal. Lindsay got doubled, dropped the rock, and took a nice one bounce to Lindley, who snagged it up and stuck it in the corner, kind of one motion. Then it was Lehigh's turn. They scored 6 of the game's next 7 goals. The first goal in the run, Matt Parker, a dish from Colkhurst. Parker's kind of falling down as he stuck it. Nice goal, critical goal. They needed it to get the momentum, to stop Loyola's momentum, I should say. Justin Tiernan finished the run with just 2:30 left in the half, his second goal in a row, both assisted by Tommy Schelling, and we now have a ball game, 5-4 Loyola. Tiernan made a really nice one-handed snag on this feed from Schelling. It was high pass, but as he grabs it as he's on his way into the crease, corrals it, sticks it left-handed. And then Schelling, he'd give Lehigh their first lead of the game with 4:12 left in the third quarter. Cole was heading to X, and Schelling faded his defender and was able to kind of walk around that left side for a goal unmolested. No one was really there to help. And then, as stated, game of runs. It's Loyola's turn. They scored 4 unanswered. Bailey Savio sticking one off the very next faceoff that tied things back up at 8-all. And then the run was capped by Matt Houston, scored the first goal of the fourth quarter, giving Loyola an 11-8 lead. Simple dodge, sweep across the top from, left to right. And very nice kind of right-handed rip. And I bet you can guess what happened next. Lehigh, they score the game's next 4 goals and take a 12-11 lead off a Scott Cole goal, dodging from the right wing into the middle of the field, running off a pick, got time and room, and it paid off. And then Loyola, they're not strangers to playing games that cause your testicles to shrivel up into your body because your body thinks it's in fight-flight here. Aiden Olmstead, he got things back to even with just 29 seconds remaining in the contest. A man-up goal dished by Adam Poitras, and we have a tie game. We have overtime. Loyola is, and then I'd almost always take Loyola in overtime. Now, I have no statistical backing on this to tell you what they've done in overtime this year, but I know that after seeing them win a couple of overtime games this year, they're killers in overtime. Olmstead finished the game with 4 goals. Oh, wait, no. I almost skipped the overtime goal. And the game winner in OT, stuck by who else? Kevin Lindley, his 5th of the game. Yet another man-up goal for Loyola. We'll look at the stats here and talk about that. Olmstead finished the game with 4 goals and a dish. As stated, Lindley had 5 goals, and Davis Lindsay put up 4 assists in the win for Loyola. Huge stat line on the day. Mike Sisselberger lost 11, only won 11 of 28 draws against Bailey Savio. Savio, typically a streaky faceoff specialist, but he's also won a shitload of faceoffs over the course of his career. He ends up having a great day, has 8 ground balls, scored a goal. Did he have a goal? Yeah, put up a goal on the day. And Sisselberger, who's one of the best Fogos in the country, ended up getting smoked by Bailey Savio. James Spence won the goalie battle for Lehigh, 15 saves, but Sam Schaefer got the W in net for Loyola despite not having a great outing overall. And like I said, as we look at the face-off stats here, Savio, 17 of 28, puts up a goal, and he ends up with 8 GBs in that as well. And Sisselberger struggled, which ends up being key once again in an overtime game. Your face-off guy wins 17 to 28 against one of the best face-off guys in the country. That's the kind of momentum you're looking for heading into your Patriot League tournament. And what I wanted to say though, man up. Yeah, Loyola was 3 of 6 on the extra man. Lehigh was 0 of 2. So, I mean, that's a big deal there. Loyola scoring 3 extra man goals. And once again, in a close game, you end up with 6 penalties, and the other team scores on 50% of those looks. That's not going to be good for the outcome of that game. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about another excellent game in the Patriot League. Both teams came into this game between Army and Boston U with 10-3 records. Army was 5-2 in Patriot League play, and Boston U was 7-0. So Boston U had already clinched the regular season Patriot League title. So in that sense, this game's meaningless, but it's not meaningless in the sense of seeding for other teams. So the first half, controlled by the Terriers. Thomas, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, Thomas Nedringhaus, scored the first goal of the game with 2:48 left in the first, giving Boston U a 3-1 lead. Jacob Morin would get one back for Army, assisted by Brendan Nickturn, and Danny Kibasa scored on a wraparound up the right side less than a minute later to knot things up at threes. Now, Boston U would go on another 2-goal run. Army would answer, but then Louis Perfetto would stick a shot dished by Timmy Lay with 51 seconds left in the half, giving BU a 6-4 lead. Army would then go on a 3-goal run. First, Paul Johnson scored unassisted with just 9 seconds left in the half, 6-5 BU. After Bobby Abshire scored a goal fed by Nick Turn, that tied things up at 6s. Morin scored, lacing a man-up goal with 10:42 left to play in the third quarter, giving Army their first lead of the game, 7-6. After BU got one back, tying things up, Army went on a 4-goal run, started by Bo Waters on yet another assist by Nick Turn, and that was finished off by Jacob Morin, a snipe from the top middle, deep from the top middle, making it 11-7 Army. And then BU, they'd get back to within a goal on a few occasions before the game's end, but Army held on for that 15-14 win. Brendan Nickturn, he led all scorers on the day with 2 goals and 8 assists for the Black Knights. That's a hell of a stat line. Louis Perfetto stuck 5 goals and contributed 2 helpers for Boston U. Now, important thing to note, and this is really important to note for Army because I said that Wyatt Schupler wouldn't play as bad as he played last week, and he struggled mightily in Army's loss to Navy, only making 3 saves against 12 goals against. And this weekend here, that was only 20% between the pipes in that game last weekend and the loss against Navy. In this win on Friday, Schupler struggled again, this time only making 6 saves versus 14 goals against for 30% stop rate. So two tough games for Schupler. Army's going to need him to bounce back because they will not win a game in the Patriot League tournament, I don't think, if Schupler continues to play that poorly. And that's not normal for him, so credit to Schupler. He doesn't normally do that. He's normally solid. And actually, I can tell you how solid he's been. Schupler is let's see here. Army is 1-3 in games where Schupler is below 50%, and that's despite Army having an 11-3 record overall. So Schupler is a very important cog in this wheel, so he just needs to play better. I think he will, and Army should be very good, very good in the end. Let's see what else we have here. Do we have any other important information? Nick Turn was 2-8, as I said. Morin had a solid game. What were we at? That was what I wanted to talk about. Faceoff. Will Coletti played tough for Army, win 17 of 32 to 15 of 32. It's kind of split, though. And then Matt Garber, he ends up with 16 saves, so that was good for him. All right, let's ditch that one. And now let's talk about Princeton and Cornell, because in the Ivy, like I said, to think that Cornell or Princeton could be number 5 in the country coming into this game and then not even make the Ivy League tournament, that's not even like a thought. I mean, it was a thought because some analyst, I'm sure, came up with that idea that Princeton could lose this game and not be in the tournament or not be in the Ivy League tournament, despite the incredible season they've had. Well, that's kind of what happened. Cornell controlled most of the first half. They held a 12-5 lead at the half, then scored the first goal of the third to extend that lead to 13-5 before the Tigers finally woke up, put together 2 4-goal runs. They scored a 4-goal run. Cornell scored. Princeton scored another 4. and Coulter Maxey made the score 14-13. Mackesy made the score 14-13 Cornell, to kind of get Princeton back in this game again. But then Spencer Wertheim, he'd score less than a minute later, giving Cornell a 2-goal lead. And then the Big Red would just kind of slow burn this to the end of the game to an 18-15 win, which surprisingly eliminated Princeton's chance of a spot in the Ivy League tournament. Now, Cornell, their attack was incredible in this game. Michael Long was 3-4, Piatelli 5-1, CJ Kirst had 4 goals. Gavin Adler on defense was an absolute monster. Dude goes for 5 caused turnovers, 8 ground balls. Chase Erlin, shaky in net, did not have a good first 3 quarters of this game, only making 4 saves over the course of the first 3 quarters, but he came up with 6 stops over the course of the fourth as Princeton was shelling him, trying to get back into this game. Eric Peters struggled. He only made 12 saves versus 30 shots. Obviously, it's an 18-15 game. So the goalies didn't have great days. Princeton has a good enough resume to get an at-large bid. I mean, that's just going to happen. If we come in here and then we look at who they have wins over, they've got a win over Georgetown, a win over Rutgers, a win over Penn, loss to Yale. That's not a bad loss. Win over Brown, Marist, Boston U. That's a really good win. And then they kind of finished the season here with 2 straight losses, and now they're not in the Ivy League tournament. But when you look at the losses, it's to Harvard and Cornell, both ranked teams, both pretty solid. Now, if Harvard had beaten Yale, that would have been a lot better for Princeton overall. But I think that, like I said, you got the wins that you have. That's going to be solid. Now, on Cornell's side, they kind of needed this win a little bit more, I think, to solidify their shot at making the NCAA tournament. I think they could have still gotten in if they had lost this game, but it would have been much rougher. Their resume, though, includes wins over Lehigh, Ohio State, Yale, Harvard, and now over number 5 Princeton. And then that Princeton win, that'll go a long way, because without it, they would have ended their season with 3 straight losses, but instead, that's not what happens. And I think Cornell, Princeton, I think they both get in. And we'll do some prognostication here next week in terms of the Selection Sunday show and all that crap, because I'll do Sunday's podcast next week before they do Selection Sunday. So we'll prognosticate on what's going to happen then. Another game worth talking about, Georgetown. They jump out to an 8-3 lead by the half, spearheaded by a couple of big first half efforts out of Connor Morin. He puts up 3 goals in the first half, and then Graham Bundy Jr., who's also been incredible. He was good for a goal and 3 dimes in the first half. Hoyas, they'd extend that lead with a 3-goal run to start the second, taking an 11-3 lead, and that was all she wrote. Bundy put up 2 goals and 4 helpers over the course of the full game, and teammate Dylan Watson, he scores 5 goals with a dish. Morin finished with 4 goals. McElroy, he stopped 11 of the 18 shots that he faced. He was very solid in net. He wins the goalie battle. He picks up the W. Will Bowen continued his monster season for the Hoyas, thieving the rock 4 times, and then Gibson Smith, he puts up 2 caused turnovers in the game for himself as well. So that Georgetown defense continues to play well, not necessarily get better. They were already really good, but they continue to play well. Bowen has 31 caused turnovers on the season. He's forced 13 turnovers over Georgetown's last 4 games. That's an incredible stat for a defender. So Georgetown is looking really good heading into tournament time. The Hoyas won every statistical category in this game except for faceoffs, but even there, they only lost one faceoff. Only had 1 faceoff win less than Nova. The Hoyas cleared the ball successfully on 23 of 24 attempts, and then they also held Villanova to 1-6 in terms of man up look. So the Hoyas played physical, got a bunch of penalties, but that man down defense played well on the day. And then more important, Georgetown, they haven't played a cupcake schedule. Georgetown, I normally chirp a little bit for playing a soft schedule, and that's not the case. Georgetown, they've got wins over Hopkins, Penn, Notre Dame, Richmond, Lehigh, Denver, and Loyola. So they've got a very respectable schedule, and despite that, 13-1 overall. So that is a hell of a season by Georgetown, and they've got to be feeling very good heading into tournament time, because as we look at how they finished this season off here, they had that loss to Princeton beginning of March, and they've rattled off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins straight, and every single one of those wins, we're looking at not even really any close game other than against like Lehigh and Richmond kind of hung a little bit, and everybody else they've been kind of beaten up. So Georgetown is looking nice heading into tournament time. Another game I wanted to talk about quickly here is Vermont and Stony Brook. And our boy here, Tommy Burke, ends up going 19 of 28 on the day. Tim Norton wins 3 of 4. So Vermont wins 22 of 32 draws against Stony Brook, and that's not going to be good. Actually, Stony Brook jumped out to an early lead in this one. They went up 4-0 before Vermont kind of started chipping back and getting back in it again. Vermont finally takes the lead in the third quarter, 10:52 left. Nick Alviti scores a goal unassisted. That gave Vermont a lead, and then kind of Vermont just kept running from there and took 11-8 lead, 12-9, 13-9, 15-9, 16-9, and just kept rolling from there. So it was really a second half win for Vermont, spearheaded by incredible play out of Tommy Burke. And then we got Thomas McConvey, 7-1 on the day. Klosterman with 6 assists. Limoges with 5 goals. So we got a bunch of dudes here putting up big points for Vermont, and now they're looking good. As we look at their schedule, what have they got coming up here? They've got Albany in the America East tournament, the 4th seed Albany. And then earlier in the season, Vermont already beat Albany 14-6. So that's who Vermont's going to play here this weekend. I didn't even look to see who Georgetown was playing. Can I bring that back? Georgetown is playing... Oh, they got a bye next week. So Georgetown doesn't know who they're playing yet in the Big East tournament. So I didn't really need to talk about that, but we do know who Vermont's playing. It's going to be Albany, the 4th seed, and they've already beat them up pretty good once this season. Let's ditch this one. We've got Big Ten tournament action already. Every team in the Big Ten makes a tournament, I think, but that might not be the case. Maybe it's the last teams out. But either way, Penn State against Hopkins. Hopkins kind of ran this game. They're up 7-2 at the half, and they exchanged goals over the course of the third, but they win 16-8 overall. As we look at the points, we're not even going to look at the points for Penn State. Points for Hopkins: Connor DeSimone, 2-2. Jonathan Peshko, 2-2. Epstein, 3 goals. So they're starting to get points out of the usual suspects a little bit more consistently. That is a good sign for Hopkins. Kearson was solid in cage, 14 saves. And like I've been saying all season, Hopkins has been shaky in cage. Kearson's not the best goalie in the country by any means, but the kid is more than serviceable, and he's actually had a good season for Hopkins. If we dig a little bit deeper on Kearson here and we look at his stats overall, above 50%, I wouldn't say the bulk of the season. He's been struggling once they got into Big Ten play, and struggled mightily against Maryland. Had a rough outing against Ohio State and Penn State the last time, but you'll take a 63.6% save percentage against a solid opponent in the Big Ten tournament. Penn State's not. Penn State's solid on certain days, I guess. But either way, that's the story of that game. Not all that exciting. This one also was not all that exciting outside of the fact it was close over the course of the first half. Ohio State jumps out to a 4-1 lead at the end of the first. Michigan scores 5 goals in the second quarter to kind of get things back to reasonable. Ohio State led 7-6 at the half, and then Ohio State had a 4-goal third quarter to kind of take that lead and then extend it to 16-10 by the end of this game. Key statistics here. Where was it? Was not even face-offs. That wasn't that big. I don't really see much. Seemed a pretty solid game. And then what we end up getting here is Skylar Wallen ends up winning the game. He ends up winning the goalie battle, 14 saves against 10 goals against. And then Shane Carr struggled, 16 goals against versus 11 saves. And that is all she wrote. As we look at the Ohio State stats, though, Jackson Reed goes 5-0. Jack Myers and Kobe Smith both go 3-1. Solid outing. What did Zawada do over here for Michigan? 3-1. Michigan started struggling. Like we had said when we were kind of picking on and beating up Michigan for their terrible schedule. They start the season out insanely hot, and Zawada and company are all putting up a boatload of points. But those wins were over Bellarmine, Detroit Mercy, Holy Cross, Canisius, Cleveland State, Marquette. Delaware was their first real test, and they answered the bell. I was like, at this point, Michigan may be for real. But then even after the close loss to Harvard, I was still thinking, hey, they might be for real. But then they lose to Notre Dame, Hopkins. They were in these games. They are a much improved team over what they were last year. But reality hit when they hit that stretch between Delaware, all the way down to Ohio State to end the regular season, and now their season's over. Lost to Ohio State in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, and that's all she wrote for them. Ohio State, who do they have up next? They have Rutgers in the Big Ten semifinals, and so that'll be a very interesting game. Earlier in the season when these two met, what happened? They lost to Rutgers 17-8. So that's what Ohio State is facing here. And now we're going to have to bring up, I don't even have this queued up, the scores for Inside Lacrosse here to go through the rest of the games I wanted to talk about. Bryant, they beat Wagner. So that's solid for Bryant. What do they have coming up here? They've got Hobart in the NEC tournament. SEC, I almost said. St. Bonaventure. I wanted to look at this because this is crazy. St. Bonaventure playing in the MAC. St. Bonaventure's 5-1 in the MAC with Marist, which is awesome. They finished the regular season 10-3. Granted, this is one of the weakest schedules you will see in college lacrosse, with their one of their losses getting beat up by Richmond 17-3. St. Joseph, that loss doesn't look too bad. St. Joseph's ended up having a solid season. They were 12-3 as well. But you kind of look at what the MAC looks like, and it doesn't matter that that's a cupcake schedule. They're going to be one of the top seeds in the MAC tournament, and they will get an automatic bid if they can win that tournament. So that is awesome to see, though. St. Bonaventure, a young program, doing this well and tearing it up here. What happened in that game? Let's just give some props to some dudes. Where the hell did that go? In that game, in the win over Canisius, 13-12. Hard-fought win here. Sean Wesley, 5-1 on the day. Jackson Rose, 3-2. So solid outing there. What do we got for goalies? Dobson played well. And looks like St. Bonnie's is playing two goalkeepers. So that was interesting. Towson and Hofstra. Hofstra's had a rough season, but they end up beating Towson to make things just look a lot rougher for Towson. They still have UMass left here. That's probably in the CAA tournament. I'm not even sure here. I'm going to admit here, I had a bunch of work crap, bunch of vacation stuff, and so prep, beyond writing up all these other games, I didn't actually watch a whole lot of lacrosse yesterday as we were prepping for other crap here. Brown beat up Dartmouth in the Ivy. That was expected to a degree. Penn beat up UAlbany. We saw that, so I didn't cover that game either. But in the end, Hobart beats Mount St. Mary's. That's kind of it. It's today's going to be a short show, and I'm going to be done yammering to all of you guys. I will not have a show on Thursday for damn sure, unless I do maybe a couple of short shows, because I'll be on the road during a little bit during the week here, this upcoming week. But I'll be back Sunday to cap tournament, conference tournament action and all of that crap. And we'll have the show Sunday morning, and then we'll have to do some sort of follow-up show once Selection Sunday starts. We'll have to do that preview show come Thursday for the weekend's first round tournament game. So that is all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, do all that crap. Go to Lax Factor, support us that way. And I will be back on Sunday morning for Sunday's recap show. And that is it. Hoost is out.